Hello, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How should I address you?
You can just call me Michael.
Sorry?
You can just call me Michael.
Michael? Hey, Michael, how's it going?
Yeah, just all good, yeah.
That's great. I think that's also another someone else here, Alvina. Alvina, hi.
Hi, hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm fine. It's great knowing you.
Great. Um, yeah, are you both sorry?
Sorry, we cannot hear your question clearly.
Just asking, where are you from? Singapore?
Yeah, I'm from Singapore.
Okay, all right, cool. Let me move a little bit. Maybe the internet isn't so great at this spot, but okay, hopefully it's better a bit here. Yeah, so thanks for I think swinging by. I honestly have no idea about what would really help in this sharing or discussion. So and I don't want to just yammer away. So why don't you guys just tell me a bit about maybe yourself as well. I can also share a bit more about me, and I'm happy to just address any thoughts that you guys have or any questions you have, right, regarding startups, the space, what's happening, or anything you want to know, really, whatever I can help with.
For me, maybe actually not really about the startup, but I'm currently really interested in the fintech industry because I'm previously come from more to export and import industry, logistics, but I try to change my career path right now. So that's why I want to listen more about what's the opportunity out there from you guys.
I see. Okay, so opportunities from the fintech space, right? Okay.
Correct.
What about Michael? Is that also what you are hoping to find out?
No, actually, I'm more interested towards startups for me because my ultimate dream is to have my own startup, like eventually. Yeah.
So Alvina shared you were previously in import export. In what capacity?
It's a global export and import, but I'm basically just the operation part. So maybe I'm not really well versed on that as well.
But you were involved in operations, right?
Yes, more to documentation to arrange the shipment from one part of the world to the other part, something like that.
Right. Okay. And Michael, what about you? Which stage of life or career are you at now?
Oh, I'm actually studying at NUS right now for my master's program.
Okay. MBA?
No, in fintech. It's joint degree from computer science and business school.
CS and biz school doing fintech. Wow, that's cool. And when you say you're hoping to do your own startup, are you already thinking about it? You have ideas around it, or what's the time horizon on that?
Yeah, so my main interest is technology in cloud computing and blockchain. So I mean, I don't really know much about startup, but I'm just more exploring the technology for now. Yeah.
Sure. So firstly, I have to clarify that though I've been in startups, I have not been directly in a fintech startup. The closest I've been to fintech is actually InsurTech, when I was the UX design lead in Great Eastern, which is one of the largest insurance companies in Southeast Asia. And I manage all UX user experience work across all digital platforms being built internally for stakeholders as well as externally for customers and for our agents to use. So I can speak a bit about what I understood about InsurTech and FinTech. And I would be also candid about what I understand from just the startup ecosystem in general, especially around how companies are, how people are starting up startups and what they do to raise money to move up and on, happy to share that. And because it's such a cozy, setting, I think with Hui Ying as well, one other attendee just joined us. Hi, Hui Ying. So since it's so cozy, I'm not gonna whip out slides and whatever not. I'm just gonna talk, unless you guys want me to share some slides. But I'm like, nah, what for, right?
I think like conversation will be quite nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think let's just keep it conversational. And I'm happy to even give you guys my contact later on. And if you want to continue to chat after this, more than happy to as well. So I think start with what I can gather about InsurTech and FinTech. And please stop me anytime if you have questions, right? Especially Alvina, if you want to dive deeper, you want to ask, just ask away.
Sure.
FinTech and InsurTech being part of finance, so I group them together, is just trying to bring banking and access to money on the mobile phone or in a more digitally easily accessible manner, right? And it can affect anything and everything finance. It started years ago with, okay, how do we just make banking digital? And then they started to talk about how do we move money digitally, right? So early days of digital banking, then move to digital remittance. So all your Instagram, right, all came up, and now you can do, so everything that used to require a lot of documentation and sign-offs, they're all digital now, right? So the digitization of the operations part, that was all driven by technology. And then making sure that the mobile connection, mobile phone, the identity of the user, all that's also done on the mobile phone, right? Your KYC, right, of the customer, all that without the need for someone to be at the bank branch, look at you and sign off on stuff. All that was done on tech. But now it seems like FinTech is moving beyond just how do we digitize existing payment services. They're trying to invent more, right? That's where the more interesting tech stuff come in that Michael's working on, your blockchains, right? Blockchain ledgers and blockchain use cases. So I think the opportunities in FinTech going forward is no longer just getting experts within the existing financial hubs or services and applying that with tech. It's going to be about creating new business models, leveraging on a blockchain technology. Definitely, I know it's overly hyped, but I'm seeing very radical new use cases coming up through blockchain, and I think they are brilliant. And also, so new use cases, yeah. And then I think the other trend in FinTech right now, it's about how you decentralize control of money. That's another big trend that I'm seeing, and that doesn't really require people with necessarily like being involved in finance at the beginning to jump into that. But you have to start to read up, right? Get a hang of it, and then think, what can my experiences bring to a financial use case? So the two things, blockchain, I think Michael might be a better person to talk about it. But from my consumer and maybe slightly business understanding, it's all around how do you secure a transaction without having a middleman there to verify it, right? That was the initial promise. But this has grown beyond just how do we secure a financial transaction, because blockchain was never meant for just finance. Blockchain was meant to just secure information across different people and making sure that there's no need for that one person to be the guardian of the whole chain of transactions, right? So now it's moved on to the whole technology has moved on to gaming. You have seen games that instead of offering just a in-game currency, so remember Candy Crush, and you can buy coins and whatnot, and you pay to the company to guarantee that you've got X number of coins you can use. Now it's moved on to a ledger, right? When you're buying your credits in the game. You are not buying just virtual currency from the company. You are now buying an actual asset that other people would want to trade with you for, depending on what they value it. So now it's no longer just someone setting the price. Now it's the whole market setting the price for whatever the currency is worth. And there are games built around it. There are NFTs, is another hot topic. Anything can have a digital version of it and can be a unique item and can therefore be traded digitally. I've got a couple of friends who started to create little artwork of cats. I can't remember the website's name now, but there are a lot of these little cartoon cats that can live in, I'm not sure whether it's a game world or it's an art world. And he created unique versions of every cat and he sold them for $1 or $2 each on a digital site. And every cat, there's only one unique copy of it. And once you buy it, you have owned that digital asset. You can prove that you're the owner of it. And he sells like $100,000 worth a month just by putting up little cat, graphics. So that's another use again of blockchain, right? And NFTs. And then the extreme end of, I think, that trend is the whole idea of the distributed, the DAO, the distributed organization, right? Where they're even talking about how does the next wave of work happen, where you don't need to have a central paymaster, an organization typical of most organizations, to control the work and compensate you for work. They're talking about using cryptocurrency or whatever coins they want to issue to give out to people who contributed work. For instance, if you go on to Fiverr or Upworks today, you are able to source for a freelancer, maybe to design this background that you see on my screen. The team at SFF went to Fiverr and say, who can design this graphic for me? And someone bid, I can do it for $10. Then you pay $10 for it. In future, this could be simply, who is going to be able to design this? I give you 0.1 coin of this coin. Or as they do the work, they actually mine that coin. And so there are these new coins that are not US dollars, right? That exist in the new ecosystem based on the amount of work that's being done. And then they take these coins and they can then again trade it for other services or pay employees or whatever, right? So you can see that even fintech or cryptocurrencies in many different formats can change the way that work is being carried out. So if you're interested, read more about the DAO, Distributed Something Organization. I can't remember the full acronym, but I'm saying that fintech is evolving beyond digitizing banking, finance services. It's worthwhile to just talk to people who understand technology and think about how the new technologies such as blockchain can enable a new way of working, a new form of governance even, right? Or new value created from something that previously you thought there was value, but you could never point out how to value it or could never secure a value for it, right? And there's always going to be a need for people who can think through it operationally, because at the end of the day, we're talking about value being exchanged. So it's important for you to be able to verify the authenticity, to be able to track transactions, report on it, but in, again, not the centralized way, but more in a distributed, you can check, and there's some way to verify it based on the blockchain or based on other things that might come up. So I think that the possibilities are endless. It's just how do you apply it to an asset that you previously didn't think that you could potentially value or secure it. And in terms of startups, I'll just quickly touch on it because I think we can have more of a back and forth about startups. My opinion of startups have been that there are two ways of, there are two types of startups. There's a startup that you really, really want to build on your own, and which means that you're passionate about a topic and you do not really, so being a unicorn is not your goal. Making a difference, holding on to your passion is your goal. That's one kind of startup. The other kind of startup is there is this technology and there's this company overseas doing it and they're doing quite well. Can I do it locally? And how much money can I raise? And how fast can I grow and conquer the market? And how quick can I exit? That kind of startup is the venture capital type of startup, right? Very goal-driven to just exit. And then hopefully someone will buy the company. All right, I'm done. I made my bucket of gold, right? And I have to say that in this world right now, there are a lot of option version 2, a lot. Many venture capital firms, even many fund houses are now trying to engineer startups like this. So Rocket Internet was the best example of it 10 plus years ago, right? They took something successful that was in Europe and they replicated it in other countries, in other regions, and they hope that they will get the same success. But it required someone to have a passion to build something that had a business need in the local market in the first place, right? So they literally tapped on the guys who wanted to build startup type 1, and then they took it and built startup type 2 everywhere else in the world to try and make money. And they know that they have a formula to find great founders, find connections in the industry, people with deep insights as well as connections, and then just marry them together and run as fast as they can. Take money, throw it at them, and make them grow as fast as they possibly can. And I think it really goes down to what kind of startup that you really want to build. What is your mission and your purpose in doing a startup? And that will lead you to different paths, as well as different type of investors that you approach, how you think about growth rates, how you think about market expansion, and ultimately how you think about your organization. What do you prioritize more? Growth at all costs, or sustainable growth, or people development, right? Those are the choices you have to think about when you start your startup. Yeah, and that's my 2 cents on it.
I have a question. So
Sure.
Obviously you can't really do startups on your own. You have to, somehow find people that really can work with you, like your partners or your collaborators. How do you go on find those people? I think because obviously, like I'm good at certain area, but I might lack a certain area. So how can I go find someone who can like cover each other?
I think you just need to be bold and network.
Right.
And there are typically a few avenues you can network. Firstly is meetup groups, right? So meetup.com, right? There are a lot of people who would find a topic and then join the groups that talk about a topic and then just start to network there. It's a very functional network.
Mm-hmm.
And because people are already seeking for something, that's why they're there. You're already pre-selecting people that are likely to want to take action. They're not a passive kind, they're more active, right?
Right.
Meetup.com, used to have a lot of physical meetups. Like people start a meetup group and then they meet up physically, have drinks and talk and whatnot. But with COVID, that's more of a challenge. So I think a lot of it has moved virtually. I think it's a lot harder to meet people and truly understand them virtually, but good to start there and then meet them, one-on-one basis just to hear them out. And the other way, of course, is just LinkedIn groups. Again, very intentional. People join LinkedIn groups because they are interested in the topic. And if you're actively there talking about what you want to do and you want to connect, people would start to connect with you. But you have to just put your feelers out there, meetup.com, LinkedIn groups, just got to put it out there, right? The other question also is that, do you already have a specific area that you are thinking about and you want to find someone in that particular area?
For me, for myself.
Yep.
Yeah. So I want to like do blockchain and cloud engineering at the same time. So I think I'm rather quite proficient at blockchain, but for cloud computing, I'm just starting to learn about it. So I wanted to, so I already have like a friend who we are working on blockchain project together, but we also want to find someone who's like a good cloud engineer or at least have some basic knowledge. So I ask you that question because of that purpose. Yeah.
Okay. But is there like a business problem or a domain that you are of particular interest to, or that you think that you have an idea to solve something there?
We are actually just really trying to explore the technology for now.
I see.
To combine, because combining, like we are trying to build blockchain-based cloud computing architecture, like ultimately, because we think that's really like the future of cloud computing. So yeah.
Okay. What makes you think is the future of cloud computing though? And how far in the future?
So because literally, as you said, it's like now for fintech, it's beyond digital transformation. We think it's like digital reinvention.
That's right.
Instead of transforming the current technology to like cloud, we are actually making all the new kind of innovations on cloud system. So if there's like any new original technology that comes up, we think that it's going to be based on cloud, no doubt. And for blockchain, that was my like initial passion. So we are like looking for how we can combine these two aspects.
So I have a follow-up question, right? This hunch that you have, and probably it's not a hunch, it's you have some good fact to substantiate that. Yeah, the future is that. When you think about the future is that, are there already applicable use cases where that provides a dramatic improvement in how things are being done, or there is cost savings, or it's new business models? Like, do you already have a hypothesis on how blockchain-enabled cloud computing would be a game changer for certain types of transactions or businesses or industries? Do you already have?
Actually, that's one of the things that I was thinking. So nowadays, how people say, oh, like a lot of companies say, oh, we're using blockchain for this, we're using blockchain for this. And they are saying that it's like an innovation, but in fact, they actually don't really have to use it. So they're like putting every kind of information on blockchain, but they don't have to.
Absolutely.
The current security, like cybersecurity is already secure enough and already quite scalable.
Exactly.
But they're excessively like trying to, put the buzzwords there. Or we are like tech firm, whereas they're just, I mean, I'm pretty sure you've heard of a lot of companies like that.
Pretty much, yeah.
So the big goal is how we can actually really maximize, like how we can find an area that it has to be used instead of just using the current system, which might be cheaper and which might be probably more secure than like the new technology. Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part, which we're looking for now.
I have a suggestion for you, and it's I'll talk about it in the why I suggest it also, right before I suggest it. So innovation usually comes when there's a problem, and then a solution is found to solve the problem. That's usually the best way in which something succeeds, right? In the innovation or transformation space. Most times when you take a new technology and you're trying to find a problem to solve, that is the inverse of the way that you can truly maximize the technology gains, right? Think quantum computing and how quantum computing was such a buzz. And there are still startups out there that are talking quantum computing and they're like, oh, quantum is the future, blah, blah, blah. And it's true, right? It is. But they all said, oh, the hardware hasn't caught up with the software. I go, huh. So are there businesses that are actually using quantum computing? Oh, no, not really. Then what are you guys doing in a quantum computing startup? Oh, we are just running data models, predictive stuff for the companies using quantum computing algorithms. And then I ask, can you do it with normal computing? Oh, yeah, it's about the same. Then why are you doing it? Oh, because it's quantum.
Yeah, it's like the technology is being used how to say, excessive, like overused, abused. Yeah.
It's not just that. I think they're taking something and trying to, they're taking, the bad analogy, square peg, round hole. They're just trying to fit whatever new cool technology they have to a problem that could be solved out, using some other method, right?
Easier method, which is the current method. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're trying to create value when there's no need for that value to be created. And that is not market efficiency.
Yeah.
So I would say, before you think that your technology can be well, adopted in future, start create like a map. And I've seen this done by a pretty brilliant and sharp strategist that I've known for some time. This guy had he was the head of strategy in a company that was trying to build new ways of doing identity of email, anonymized email data analytics. So they had a technology, and they said, I can read all the email headers, and I can mask out all the who's who from the actual reader, and I can tell relationships between people that email each other, can tell what is the things that's going to happen based on velocity of how much emails get exchanged, and I can map it out in a nice fancy data map, just who's the most important person in the organization. I can do all that. And the strategist went, so what? Then the product people went to him and said, so can you tell me where can we sell this? So it sounds like your problem now, right? You're thinking, technology, shit, where should I go? So what he did was he went back to his room. He took a white wall, and he started writing every industry he knew that he had some idea about. And he wrote down every business function within the industry. So he wrote aerospace, he wrote manufacturing, he wrote transport, and he wrote down all the functions. Is it operation? Is it call center? Is it legal? Is it this, HR? He just started writing that grid down. And then he called up every one of his friends who he knows is somehow in the industry and in that particular team or that function. And he had a brainstorming session with them. He explained it, and then he asked them, is there a gap there that you think can fit? Of course, before he went and talked to them, he already had some hypothesis. So he, based on his experience with work and life, he's like, no, I think, HR across will want to know what's the risk of someone leaving the company. And maybe if his email, if the velocity of his email start to drop over time, is there a prediction level that can say that this guy's likely going to churn?
Right.
Or he looked at sales and he went, oh, I can sense that there's this guy who's owning too much sales power. This one salesman knows everyone in that client. Maybe they have to diversify who knows that client, because if that guy leaves, the company's in trouble, right? So he was starting to look at use cases, thinking of what the tech can do and fit back onto what the users in each sector and each team's objectives are. When he had a hypothesis, he then validated with some friends. And this again, where you can reach out to different user groups, LinkedIn groups, or your whoever contacts you have that are in those industries, reach out and have a chat. That's how you can come up with some initial hypothesis, right, for your business plan. Then with that, it's all around then pitching the idea and getting feedback, right, from investors, right, to get a sense. So that's how I go about thinking about it. I hope that helped.
Yeah, it really did. No, I was just observing what he said. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure the most difficult part about startup is to really know what the problem is. I mean, nowadays there's like so much advancement in technology and knowledge that you can probably come up with some fast solutions.
Yep.
But finding the real problem that exists is probably the most difficult part.
Yeah, we call it product market fit, right? So got a great product, no market to sell to. Yeah, it's gonna fail. You can spend all the money, all your investors' money doing the most kick-ass thing, but no one's paying for it, then it's a fail, right?
Yeah.
Most startups first, they call it the Series A money, right? Like pre-Series A, they're raising money to just build up what your vision is. Series A money usually is to help you get to the first few customers, to prove that there is product market fit. So typical venture capital investors would still see that up to Series A, you still have the highest chance of failing because you have not found product market fit yet. Only when you're raising Series B money, and that is anything from $10 million to $50 million, then they will say, okay, I think you have found that niche. You know there's a market and your product can solve it. Now, how do you scale it? So the next round of money is to help you scale. Again, that's typical venture capital thinking, but I am also not the biggest fan of that. I still believe that hold on to your vision, but find it first, right? Based on understanding just, which area do you think that there's a real problem and try and solve it? And then go deeper and deeper into it, because you should trust your instincts. If you feel that there's some gap in that vertical, in that team that you think your technology can solve, then it's around finding where that problem exists. Because your instincts must have told you that for some reason. It can't be just based on, daydream and, unicorns and butterflies, right? It must have some basis for it. Yeah. So do your homework to find where. It might not be in the local market. It might be overseas. Doesn't matter. Just how you reach out to people and be bold and just connect with them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I really think you're an expert in this area. Can I talk to you and find out whether you can help me verify my idea, right? People on LinkedIn who have all the years of experience and whatnot, they love to feel important. So when you reach out to them and just say, hey, can I connect with you because I want to seek some advice. I think you have so much experience. Can you help me out? Oh, they'll love to talk to you about it, right? So use that chance. Find where your instincts fit, and then go in. That's how I believe you can unite your passion or your instincts about where the problems are and you can solve it with finding where that can be deployed, instead of trying to just fit it in a local market and tweaking it until it kind of works and it's no longer what you actually believed in. I hope that answered you.
No, it really did. It really did. Yeah.
Any questions? Any more questions, Michael, or even Alvina? Any questions that you might have? I'm not sure whether there's still more time or they kick us out, but anything else I can help you both with?
Not so much a question, but I heard how you passionately talk about startup, and then I'm starting to thinking about it as well. But maybe it's more like now I have an idea about what I want to do in the future, but maybe not really related to tech, because okay. I'm seeing the problem of the environmental, so much garbage. For me, it's a potential because those garbage have zero cost, and we can turn it into something that valuable. So that's what I want to venture maybe in the future, but not now.
So you mentioned about waste, right? About waste and how you can turn it into something more valuable, right? Is it still early observations for you, Alvina, in the industry, or have you looked deeper into specific types of waste and what can be done about it?
Maybe more to the something like paper waste or plastic waste. But what is my concern now is that I maybe have I see the problem, I want to tackle it, but I don't necessarily have the knowledge about it. I don't know how to turn from the plastic to something more valuable, or maybe how to reuse it, recycle it. I don't have any idea at all. But how you suggest some like this? Maybe does it mean I need to find someone that have knowledge about it and be partnering up?
I'm glad you brought this up, because one of the startups that we were working with in Cambodia was actually facing this same issue. Not issue, but this approach, right? So Alvina, just like you, this young lady called Vate, she's Cambodian. She went to a business competition when she was in her first year at university. and she saw that, oh, sustainability is an issue in Cambodia. She said, oh, there's no recycling in Cambodia. Oh, we are like so terrible with our waste management. We just landfill, dump everything, or we just incinerate. It's bad for environment. So she started to imagine just how can I educate and how can I help recycling within Cambodia. It has been 3 years since she started this journey. She has gotten support from many NGOs and even, I think, governments that have embassy or some mission in Cambodia. So our successes have been with like the Swiss embassy, with I don't know which other embassy, with the UN development program, UNDP, and even the local government, the Impact Hub in Cambodia. She got support from those entities. But the reason why is it support and not a business is because I think sustainability is still very early as an industry, and it can be very technical. And there's still little incentive for drastic change. The economics just doesn't work yet. I mean, even you need all the world leaders to meet for a whole week just to agree on 1.5 degrees, increase in how many years. I mean, come on, does it really need everyone's time to do that? It shows that things are not really, it's not so critical yet, it really isn't. So my suggestion, especially if you don't have prior experience in any part of the recycling or waste management industry, would be to start with looking around you, right? And finding out just what are the efforts you can do. Is it at home or your community that could help with reduction, with recycling, reuse, right? So it's to prevent that addition of waste, right? Because there's a lot of money and a lot of expertise in the plastics recycling, different materials. And if you want to get into that, you have to get yourself deep with the academics and with those high-tech companies doing it. And that will be a difficult route unless you have connections already. So if you don't have that yet, the biggest impact you can have really is starting, I think, a grassroots or a more ground-up sort of a movement. Talking about waste, I believe there are companies in Vietnam that are trying to collect coffee ground. So once the coffee, the cafes, when they finish brewing the coffee ground, they're collected, and there's a company that collects them and makes cookies from them, right? And sell those cookies. So they're called coffee ground cookies. And then there's another one that did it with tea leaves. So they take those brewed tea leaves, also they collect it, I don't know what they did, they sanitize it and whatnot, and then they make cookies from them. So again, that's a reuse, right? Use case. Yeah. And those are things that I think most consumers do not need that much technical or scientific knowledge to do. You just probably need your sanitation and all your licenses to sell stuff. And that probably is more attainable. And I think those are great use cases because it's easy to rally people around that cause. Everyone drinks coffee. That everyone will think, hey, yeah, why don't I do that too? Maybe my little contribution can save the environment. And that can build traction better than a lot of these companies that are trying to invent new materials, new way of breaking down, don't know what thing, and like cleaning up the world, Those big scale, difficult to get attention, maybe start small and grow from there in a grassroots way. I think that will bring the biggest impact to your community and to the cause that you see that needs help in a fastest way.
Okay, thank you so much for your suggestion.
No problem, Elvina. I see we have 2 other guests. Maybe it's because it's the next session and I've overstayed because I know my time is supposed to be until 11:30. So I'm just going to leave my details here on the chat. You can connect with me on LinkedIn.
All right, okay.
Let me find my LinkedIn. details. I can't remember what's my LinkedIn address. Okay, found it. So this is me on LinkedIn. Do connect with me, and then we can continue chatting. And again, I believe when you want to do any business, it's about finding the right people. So just use this as a way to just reach out, network, talk to people, and all the best to finding that purpose and that dream of yours, and then talking your way to figure out how to get it done. That's most meaningful thing that all of us can do.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank
So
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael.